Hello everyone, welcome to Mahamana Academy. Myself Shivani, and I'm going to cover your CUET political science syllabus. Basically, covering a CUET syllabus is not all about having facts or NCRT. It's also about having a smart work, like also solving your MCQs, PYQs. So, in order to have a complete understanding of the CUET syllabus, let me first tell you what should be your priority while you are studying or while you are preparing for CUET. Okay, first thing you can see that you can cover your NCERT syllabus, right? The first thing you can do is cover your NCERT syllabus, and I'm going to help you for this. I'm here to teach you this NCERT syllabus. And after this, the second thing comes is that you have to solve MCQs, right? MCQs, there are two types of MCQs you will find. The PYQs. PYQs is your previous year questions, right? So when you have enough time, you can solve all MCQs. But if you have limited time after covering your NCERT, then you can cover your PYQs. It's your job to do maximum of PYQs and ask questions if you have any doubts, right? And once you are done with PYQs, you can cover MCQs. And while solving your MCQs, you will notice that you will get some questions which is from current affairs or maybe the contemporary times, whatever the news is coming. So that you can cover while covering MCQs. So you can ask question, or if I'll also get something which I feel that it is necessary to share, I'll give you, right? So we are here starting with your syllabus through this NCERT book. First we have done with NCERT, and then we will proceed in this way, right? So this is your overview of your syllabus. You have two categories. The one is about your Indian politics. It is politics in India since independence. So basically what we are studying, what is the time frame? The time frame is after 1947, when India got independence, right? And then the second one is contemporary world politics. In contemporary world politics, basically we will be covering after the World War II. So basically after 1945. So this time frame is from 1947 we are studying here, and from 1945, right? So let's proceed and discuss what is in Indian politics. Okay. So this is your syllabus given in your CUET syllabus. The first chapter you can see here is the era of one party dominance. The first three chapter of your CUET syllabus is basically the in your first chapter in your or maybe it is given as a second chapter in your CUET syllabus, but it is the first chapter of your NCERT book, if you will notice. So in this chapter, in the nation building, you will find that there was a three problem when India got independence, right? So these three chapters are dealing with those three problems. You can see the nation building. So the first problem was about the integration, right? How to integrate the nations. What was the trauma from where the India got independence? So that trauma was like partition and all killings and violence. And then you have era of one party dominance. So the second problem was about democracy, right? How to ensure democracy, how to make sure that people have their participation in the politics. So in India, if we see, the democracy is not direct democracy. We will discuss about it, what is direct democracy, indirect democracy. So basically what India we have is a representative democracy, right? So when we are saying the representative democracy, we need someone who are representing us. Okay, so here we are the citizen of India, and we are electing someone, right? Through elections or election procedure. And then those representatives like MP or MLAs, they are representing our demands to the political processes. So that's why while dealing with the democracy, we are reading the party system, right? So, there is a two way of putting your demands to the political process. One is through political parties, and the other one is through pressure group, right? So here in this chapter, we are discussing the role of party politics. Why? Because they also ensure democracy. How? because we are having a representative democracy. So in this chapter, we are going to discuss about the party system. So how after the independence, we are facing the problem of ensuring our rights or having our say in the democracy, or to make sure that our whatever we would like to have are having in our hands, right? So whatever demands we are putting, that can be ensured through the party system after independence, right? But after independence, what was the scenario? We had one party system. One party system, you may have aware of it, that there was one popular party, Congress party. So in this chapter, we will be discussing about the Congress party dominance, right? Second chapter, we have already discussed that we are discussing the integration, what problems we have faced during the integration of the states, or what problems we had when we got independence. So there was a problem of partition. Third is about the development. So while we were discussing about the three problems, we have discussed the democracy, integration problem, and then the third problem is how to ensure welfares of all, right? So when we are talking about the welfare, we need a development plan. So how we have made sure that the development is in the direction of making sure that everyone are getting the benefit of that development, that we are discussing in this chapter. So basically, if in India, if we see, after independence, the Nehru had their vision very clear that we will have a planned development in the sense the 5-year plans, right? So this we are discussing in this chapter. Then we have fourth chapter, external relation. External relation is about foreign policy, right? Foreign policy, it means that how India after independence started building their relation with the other nations, with international actors, like with other nations including the superpower. At that point of time, if you notice that there was a rivalry going on, there was a Cold War. So basically, at that point, what was foreign policy is all about how we are dealing with the two superpower, right? It was majority of it was about how we are dealing with the major power. So fourth chapter is about foreign policy. If you see the fifth chapter, you can see it is the part of first chapter, right? Here also we are discussing what happened after the Nehru era, right? If you see your syllabus, there is a given that what was the role of Nehru, right? So when we are discussing the role of Nehru, it is in the first chapter. But what happened after Nehru, right? So that is in fifth chapter. Okay, and then after Nehru, there was Shastri, and then there was Indira Gandhi. So when she came to the power, one very dark phase of democracy, you can say, happened in 1975. That we call emergency, right? In sixth chapter, we are discussing basically the emergency, the context of emergency, and what happened after emergency, what were the consequences, what lesson we have learned in after the emergency period. So emergency period is basically we will discuss about it, what happened in what happens in situation of emergency. That is all about this sixth chapter. And then we have regional aspiration. Regional aspiration is also, it is one part of second chapter. If you notice, the nation building. Once you are having this idea of building nation, then there is no consensus that can be built one together, right? So there is a series of this nation integration. So once we are done with making states on the linguistic basis, what happened after that, what demands were emerging, that thing we are discussing in this chapter. So the remaining part of second chapter we are going to discuss in this chapter, right? And then we have new social movement, as we have as I was telling you, that there's a two way of putting your demands, right? So one is we already discussed through the party politics. The second one is through the pressure group, through the civil society organizations, and through the social movement. That's called the social movement, right? So this we are going to discuss. We will be discussing farmers movement and women's movement and so on. In this chapter we are covering this one. And then we have democratic upsurge and coalition politics. So coalition politics is also about is also the one part of first chapter, where we have discussed the party politics, and then in fifth chapter we have discussed what happened after Nehru. But in this chapter we will be discussing what happened after the Rajiv Gandhi. What happened after Rajiv Gandhi? Because after Rajiv Gandhi there was a period called the coalition period, right? The coalition phase we are going to discuss in this chapter. Okay. And then the last chapter is recent issues and challenges. So of course by name you can see the recent issues. So recent issues is basically we are discussing everything whatever we have discussed in all 8 chapters. This chapter is kind of culmination of that point, and we will also add some recent happening if required, right? So this is all about your Indian politics, and there is what I have decided is that I am not going to cover entirely your Indian's politics. We will be going in an alternative way, right? So one chapter from the Indian politics and the other from the world politics, kind of we will be covering your CUET syllabus, right? So here we have the world politics, contemporary world politics. What we are going to discuss in contemporary world politics? I have told you that we are going to cover world politics after 1945. So you can, what happened in 1945? Why we are discussing after 1945? Right. So what happened in 1945? End of World War II. Right. So what happened in 1945? End of World War II. What was, when we are saying the world war, it's not that every country is involved in the war, right? It means that the major countries are getting involved in the war, and because the major countries are involved in the war, the other small nations are going to affect by that, right? That's why we call it world war, right? So if you see World War II, what happened? There was a 2 group, Axis group and Allied forces, right? So what happened? Japan, Germany, Italy, they were the part of Axis power, right? And Allied forces, UK, USA, Russia and France, right? So Allied forces defeated Axis power. So Axis power defeated, right? Now we have this Allied forces. So here you can see that the USA before World War II, they have an isolationist policy. So basically what USA believed before World War II in neutrality, right? But suddenly in World War II, they appeared and they had bombed in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which located in Japan, right? So this scenario happened, and now you can see that the USA arising, and here the Russia in the form of USSR, right? So here USA and USSR, they are emerging. So in this chapter, what we are going to discuss? We are going to discuss what happened when the USA and USSR arise in the world politics. So Cold War is basically the war, right? But because they are very aware of the consequences of war, the violent conflicts, that's why they cannot afford the violent conflict, right? That's why they are not having this direct war, and they are relying on Cold War. They are having they are facing, they are having that rivalry, but they are not expressing it directly because they are aware of the consequences of the violent conflict, right? What is the consequences? The consequences of the civilians, the loss of economic resources. So these are the consequences of war, to which they were very aware, and that's why they cannot afford the war, and that's why they are relying on the Cold War. So Cold War is also a war, you can say, but it is the indirect war, right? Okay, and then the disintegration of the Second World. You know what happened in 1990s? From 1945, USSR emerged, right? But suddenly, what happened in 1990s? USSR disintegrated also, right? So when USSR disintegrated, it is very obvious question that what happened, that the USSR got disintegrated in 1990s. So that questions we will be dealing in this chapter, right? What was the second world? So the first world is USA, second world is USSR, and what is the reason or the consequences of that collapse of bipolarity? Bipolarity means means two power, USA and USSR. So when USSR disintegrated, the world become the unipolar. So the collapse, that's why they call the disintegration of USSR as collapse of bipolarity, right? So that we will be discussing in this chapter. And then we have a US dominance. US dominance means the unipolar world, right? Unipolar world. USA is having a sole hegemony over around the world, and each and every country are getting affected by that. So that we will be discussing how, you know, the USA is not having only you know, military hegemony. They are also affecting the economic way of every countries, and they are also having an ideological impact on the lifestyle of the people of other countries, right? So that hegemony we will be discussing in this chapter. And after US hegemony, we will be discussing the, you know, we will be dealing in this chapter, we are basically dealing, can we have some alternative centers apart from USA? So that we are discussing in this chapter. So excluding USA, all other regional organization, including the European Unions, SAARC we have, ASEAN, right? So that we will be discussing, and we will be dealing a question whether they can become alternative centers to the USA. Either you know, either in collectively or single-handedly, right? So that this question we will be dealing in this chapter. And then we have this South Asia in the world politics. So South Asia, you know, if you see the map, I suggest you to see the map of South Asia. So you will realize that South Asia is basically the neighbors of India, right? It is you can say Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, or you can say whatever is you know, India is surrounded by these countries. This comes under the South Asia. So I suggest you to see the map. And then we have international organization. So what is international organization? It is basically UNO, United Nations Organization. I cannot say that international organization is UNA, but right now we have only one organization, that is international organization, and that's why we call it UNO, right? So international organization can be any organization which is having a diverse you know, which is having a diverse realm. Like for example, there is no one reason is the part of that that organization. Entire country, if you notice, 193 nations are part of United Nations, and they are from different location, right? They are from South Asia also, they are from Europe also, they are from America also, right? So they are coming from all the continents. So that's why this is an international organization. And right now we have only one organization, that is United Nations. And you know, in this chapter we will be discussing how, you know, United Nations emerge, because United Nations is not a sudden outcome. What happened is that, you know, after World War II, what happened? League of Nations was formed, right? League of Nations was formed. But then what happened, if you see the corollary, First World War, League of Nations, and then the World War II happened. So basically you can say that the League of Nations was a failure, because League of Nations was made to avoid war, and then what happened? Second World War happened. So in order to avoid, League of Nations was reformed. In order to avoid war, the League of Nations was reformed in the form of UNO, right? So in this way, this United Nations emerged, and we will be discussing this in 6th chapter, right? And then we have security, environment, globalization, right? These are the current issues. Security, we will be discussing what is traditional, non-traditional issues, and then the environment and the globalization. These 3 chapters are very easy, and these are the contemporary issues we will be dealing, right? So this is all about your CUT syllabus, and now we will proceed with this chapter. Let me give me some time. Okay. So I will start your teaching you from the chapter nation building, right? And today we will discuss half part of nation building, about the Nehru approach, about the partition, and then about the national integration we will be discussing in the next chapter. So today we will start with nation building, and then we will cover one chapter from world politics, and then we will come and cover this one party dominance, and then in a same way, in alternative way, we will cover your CUT syllabus. I hope you are clear with what you have to read and how you have to read. And now we will start this syllabus, right? Thank you.